you would.
Okay, I'm just going to stand up because I'm more comfortable looking at you rather than up there. Really, it's how are we getting in the way of social learning and social learning within the corporate environment. So the we is learning and development, just so that's kind of clear on that end. It's not so much who am I, but why am I here? I spent 13 years in learning and development and was fortunate in the last 3.5 years to be looking at it from an industry perspective globally and working with many vendors and going to conferences and really researching the industry from that perspective. The agenda in regard to really how is social learning working is discussing the value of social media and learning, the barriers, some of the discoveries that we made almost accidentally, but which really allowed me to come here and speak to you about it, and then the discussion that we'll all have at the end. So in looking at the value of social media and learning, it was quite a revealing experience when I was doing my searches and looking through that maybe 7-8 years ago, if you were to do this for e-learning, you would have debates online and in books whether or not it was even valuable. The nice thing that I discovered in looking up the value of social learning is there was no debate. It was all valuable. And it described how you can create greater value of social learning. Almost, if you're not doing it, there's no option. You better get to it. So when you look at those bullets up there, does it look familiar? I'm not sure how many people were around 10 years ago, but I feel like we're reinventing the wheel, and I almost don't want us experiencing and doing the same thing over again. The nightmare, at least in the States, for ROI. We must have created document over document to present to senior executives. In reality, when we spoke to them, did it work? Did we increase sales? Is it manageable? Great. You didn't need to spend 6 weeks presenting a huge document to the senior executive CEO teams. You have to always keep them informed. But in looking at the value of social media and learning, my hope is that we'll know how to get the ROI and use the appropriate tools, maybe even social tools. And looking at the value of social, the definitions and the barriers here, it's really the terminology. These are terms that we've created. Nobody else is out there saying that we need some of the things like semantic technologies, Ajax. We can have these terms and they're great technically, but when you talk to the CEO or the business group leader, you're talking mumbo jumbo and they don't want to deal with it. They've tuned out. Within 7 seconds, they're gone. And if you could have just looked at the simplicity of language here and had common language like, hey, Facebook, how about Twitter? Now we have LinkedIn. We can even discuss things like mentors and apprenticeships. These are all common language that everybody uses, not only in business, but in the real world. So why don't we consider linking the real world with our business world? Because we're all humans. We don't just separate ourselves. And we'll probably get a lot further within this world of social learning. You can see how they link together much easier here when people actually understand what you're talking about. It's not about the gadgets. Yes, we all get the gadgets. It's about the learning that you can gain, the connection, the networking, the trust that you can build by social media. So the discovery phase was almost accidental, and I almost recommend it for everyone in the room to take a grassroots approach. Go out and ask people, what do they think about it? Try not to come up with your assumptions, because we're all looking at it from a different angle of learning development in regard, are you in the financial sector, life sciences, whatever the sector is. But in going out, we had the assumption that we would go out in the street and the people on the street wouldn't have a clue. They won't know how to define it. We know how to define it. This is our career. And we did it for a number of terms, and based on time, I don't have it. They're all on YouTube. You talk about things like innovation, and people go, new, exciting. You get the definitions at this conference, and they would go on and on and on. And even I tuned out after a while. So there's no wrong definition. I'm going to play that YouTube video. But it is interesting when you look at the simplicity of the answers that once we get into the learning and development response, it goes on a bit. It's very good. It's an accurate answer. But when we're speaking to the CEO, it's that 7 seconds concept. We need to get the information immediately to make sure we're all going to learn and we're going to have the opportunity. Also, one last thing, I could dive for hours into it, but in the United States, we over-exaggerate the age and the fact that baby boomers, they can't do anything, and it's only the 18-year-olds. In our grassroots marketing, we found that most 18 to 24-year-olds could really care less. They do it for their personal, they have to text, but in school, they're not all online yet. Many times you have to introduce them to the corporate. We found that demographics run a lot 35 to 50-year-olds are really the ones that have all day on Twitter, because there's a business reason. So I'm just going to jump to this video, and as you listen to it, just think how do I describe e-learning or innovation or social media to my colleagues and my peers, and am I getting the message across? Oops.
Just learning through the internet, I guess?
E-learning? I guess that has something to do with the computer.
Learn online. E-learning? Learning on the internet?
E-learning, anything on the internet.
E-learning? Is that using like the internet to learn?
I think it's many things. I don't think it's just constrained to being on screen. I think e-learning is electronic learning, so you learn through mobile technology, through on-screen, TV, your iPod, whatever different electronic forms. To me, e-learning is really getting information that you need when you need it.
So there's a number of these little quick YouTubes, and we thought, okay, St. Paddy's Day, I work for the government of Ireland, so I thought it would be humorous, get some crazy, but we got some great answers on the street. And once again, I'd ask to raise hands, but we're going to have a dialogue. Do you just ask even outside your business? If you're in research and development or you're working in particular, do you go out to the marketing folks and see if they define it differently? It will help you gain access to social media and learning. And just wrapping this up, in the reinvention of social learning, and I do think it will reinvent the industry because it has to. We heard other folks speaking. The Black & Decker gentleman was saying that you need to embrace it. On the first day, we had Peter Butler from BT stating it needed to be embedded within the workflow. As you look here, you need to embrace the technology of social media. I know there's issues with firewalls and everything, but there are also great case studies of banking institutions that are embracing it. And if they can do it, I think pretty much any sector can do it. You need to engage. You need to engage yourselves, the population at which you work, whatever organization it is. Don't just market it to them. Please don't reinvent that e-learning nightmare of giving away freebie nightmare things just to pull people in. Engage. Have context around the content that you're providing in the social media. And then you need to embed it in the daily workflow. To me, true success will be when someone doesn't think they have to go learn, but they are learning. And they're impacting the results of the business. They're treating their customers better. They're connecting. They know what the needs are through social media. And then you're doing it and you're not even realizing. When we ask people if they go online and they use social media, they had no idea, but they get on Flickr to share pictures. And they're on LinkedIn to help people get jobs. We dealt with a lot of recruitment people, and they never once called it social learning or social media. So that just leads us to the wrap-up to the discussion after we hear from Neil.